Hey, Si, how come you got the brothers on the wall here?
You want brothers on the wall? Get your own place. You can do what you want to do.
Do the Right Thing, a Spike Lee joint that addressed serious racial issues in Brooklyn, New York, recently celebrated its 20th year anniversary. The Griot caught up with legendary director Spike Lee as he reminisced about the groundbreaking film.
20 years ago today, in the United States of America, there are many people, critics, reviewers, stuff like that, saying that, predicting that this film is going to cause race riots. That black folks were going to come out of theaters and just go buck wild, go crazy, and burn down stuff all across America. And Universal Pictures would be socially irresponsible to release this type of film in the summertime. And that was really the climate. People forget about that.
Urban race riot with North America's most controversial black filmmaker, Spike Lee.
How come you ain't got no brothers up on the wall?
It's the story behind the neighborhood and the people featured in his 1989 movie, Do the Right Thing.
I mean, I think there is a definite racism problem out there for both blacks and whites, and what I love about this film is it sort of links those two problems together in one film and says no one's perfect.
What's the difference between my characters and Hollywood characters? And for a lot of times theirs are false because they know nothing about black people, and their ideals about black people being bolstered by the stereotypes they grew up with watching films.
Good evening and welcome to Human Edge. I'm Catherine Olson, the host and programmer of the series. Well, he's black, he's mad, and he makes movies. Spike Lee has developed a reputation as a revolutionary filmmaker with an attitude. His most recent movie, Malcolm X, and before that, Jungle Fever and Do the Right Thing, have all served as reflectors of black rage in America. Black rage in America. Black rage in America. In tonight's documentary, The Making of Do the Right Thing, we get a chance to not only go behind the scenes, but also witness the effects the 10 weeks of shooting had on the mostly black and Hispanic neighborhood in Brooklyn where the movie was made. Spike Lee grew up in Brooklyn, too, not far from where this film was shot.
Another of the hallmarks of a Spike Lee film is its utter unpredictability. In the final scene between Mookie and Sal, Mookie does something wonderful. Having thrown the garbage can through the window, he comes back the next day, and what's he ask him for?
His money.
And what happens? He gets it.
What are you going to do with yourself?
Make that money, get paid.
It's very ambiguous. I don't know what the future will hold for these people.
Well, I mean, the film had to end like that. I mean, we were criticized for this because at the end of Do the Right Thing, we did not have an answer to end racism.
Right. Exactly.
That was the fault of the film, because we did not provide answers at the end.
In fact, what you do at the very end is, I think, stunning. There are two quotations.
Mm-hmm.
The first quote is from Martin Luther King, Jr. Violence as a way of achieving racial justice is both impractical and immoral. And then immediately after it is a second quote from Malcolm X that says, I don't even call it violence when it's self-defense, I call it intelligence. And we are left between those two views to make up our own minds, presumably, huh?
Yes. So it's not really a question of either or.
When Do the Right Thing came out in 1989, a fairly momentous year on the world stage, it was a hugely controversial movie. People were afraid that it was going to spark riots in cities, and it was the subject of a lot of op-eds and editorials. And at the time, a lot of people accused Spike Lee of being a provocateur. But you have to say, given the context in which the movie was released, he doesn't seem to have been exaggerating very much. There were still to come the Crown Heights riots and the Rodney King riots in Los Angeles.
We wondered what Spike Lee, the man who made the much garlanded film about racial conflict, Do the Right Thing, thought. Do the Right Thing was, incidentally, the film that Barack and Michelle Obama went to see on their first date and later argued over in an ice cream parlor. What do you make of that remark of Jimmy Carter's the other day when he said part of the attack upon Barack Obama is because he's black?
I agree.
You do?
Yes.
The attack on his policies, for example. Healthcare.
When has a senator ever, like the guy from South Carolina, Joe Wilson, ever done that to another? That's never happened before, ever, where someone's called a liar.
That doesn't mean it was done because the president is black, though, does it?
Look, how long have you been black?
I've never been black.
Thank you very much. So, as someone who's been living in America for 52 years and whose ancestors were slaves for 100 years, I'm trying to answer your question.
Go on, go on, go on.
Yes, racism still exists in the United States of America.